What is the limit of love? How strong can an oath, a promise be? Can the phrase, "until death do us part," be not an end, but a beginning? The story we are about to tell today offers the darkest, most disturbing answers to these questions. This is not just a crime story. It is a tale of human obsession, rejection, and a madness that pushes the boundaries of death. We are in the hot, humid, and isolated Key West of the 1930s. In a hospital room, an X-ray technician developed such an obsession with his patient, who died of tuberculosis, that this obsession led him to one of the most chilling acts in history. He exhumed her body, took it home, and lived with it for a full 7 years. But the truly shocking part was the horrifying methods he used to keep the decaying body alive for those 7 years. Piano wires, glass eyes, wax, and silk fabrics. When this chilling secret was revealed, the greatest irony of the story unfolded. A large portion of the public saw him not as a monster, but as a romantic lover. This is Carl Tanzler and his Elena. Get ready, because this story is not just a love story, but a journey into the darkest recesses of the human psyche. Our story begins in 1877 in the city of Dresden, Germany. Georg Karl Tanzler. However, he avoided using this name throughout his life. He preferred to introduce himself as Count Karl von Cosel. How real was this title? Not at all. But by hiding behind this count title, Tanzler claimed to be much more than a simple X-ray technician. According to Tanzler's claim, this title was given to him by the spirit of his deceased ancestor, the famous 18th century Countess Anna Constantia von Cosel. Tanzler claimed that the Countess's spirit had appeared to him since childhood, telling him he must find his woman of destiny. This mystical belief would shape his entire life, leading him to walk the fine line between science and madness. In the late 1920s, Tanzler left his wife and children behind and moved to America, settling in Key West, the southernmost point of Florida. Here, he began working as an X-ray technician at the Marine Hospital. At the time, radiology was a new and mysterious field. Tanzler combined this new technology with his own mystical beliefs, seeing himself as a kind of scientific healer. And then, in the spring of 1930, the moment arrived. A young woman named Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos was brought to the hospital. She was 22, Cuban-American, and known for her beauty in Key West. However, Elena's fate was sealed by a disease that was incurable at the time: tuberculosis. When Tanzler first saw Elena, he immediately recognized her as the woman shown to him by his ancestors. This was no ordinary love. It was an obsessive belief in destiny. Tanzler did everything to place himself at the center of Elena's life. He bought her expensive gifts and declared his love for her. However, Elena rejected this attention, as Tanzler was an old, strange, and married man. Rejection only fueled Tanzler's obsession further. Tanzler approached Elena's family, claiming he could cure her. He even installed X-ray equipment stolen from the hospital in Elena's family home. The family, in desperation, accepted this strange man's offer. In the final months of Elena's life, Tanzler began to establish control over her by acting as her caretaker. In the early 1930s, tuberculosis was a major devastation in humid and crowded places like Key West. Elena's condition was rapidly deteriorating. Tanzler desperately applied his own treatments. These included methods popular at the time, such as gold leaf and electrical currents, which lacked any scientific basis. However, all of Tanzler's efforts were in vain. On October 25, 1931, Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos passed away at the age of 22. For Tanzler, this was not an end, but an obstacle. He refused to lose the woman of his destiny. This is where Tanzler's first unethical betrayal and manipulation begins. Taking advantage of Elena's family's grief, he offered to cover all funeral expenses. The family accepted this generous offer. However, Tanzler's goal was not generosity. It was to seize control over Elena's body. Tanzler had a magnificent above-ground mausoleum built for Elena in the Key West Cemetery. This was not just a grave, it would be a storage unit for his future plan. During the construction of the tomb, he insisted on using a special airtight coffin and his own prepared chemicals to slow the body's decomposition. For a full 2 years, Tanzler visited the grave every single night. To the family, this was a sign of deep mourning, but the truth was much darker. During these visits, Tanzler was injecting chemicals and preservatives into the grave to slow the body's decomposition. This was not a ritual of mourning, but the continuation of a horrifying experiment. For these 2 years, Tanzler was left alone with his loneliness and obsession. He could not bear the thought of the body decaying in the grave. In his mind, Elena had to be his, not just physically, but spiritually. This was only the beginning of a great secret and a terrifying plan. The middle of the night in 1933, Tanzler made his decision. He could no longer bear for Elena to remain in the grave. In his mind, Elena's spirit was calling him. This decision was based entirely on his own mystical beliefs and obsessive love. He would now take on the task of exhuming Elena and bringing her back to life. Tanzler meticulously prepared for his act. He waited for the darkest hour of the night. The silence of the Key West Cemetery accompanied his cold-blooded plan. Tanzler entered the tomb, opened the airtight coffin, and removed Elena's body. The cold-bloodedness and preparation of this act are chilling. Despite 2 years of chemical treatments, the body had naturally begun to decompose. But for Tanzler, this was merely damage that needed repair. What did he use to transport the body from the cemetery to his home? A toy wagon. Yes, you heard that right. With a toy wagon, he carried the decaying body of the woman he loved through the streets of Key West, unnoticed. This detail is one of the moments that best reflects the surreal and disturbing nature of the story. While a horrific crime was being committed, the act was carried out with the tool of a childlike innocence. Elena's new resting place was the bed in Tanzler's home. Tanzler had begun a horrifying cohabitation that would last 7 years. This was not merely living with a corpse. It was an obsession with keeping a dead body alive. For these 7 years, Tanzler made an incredible effort to preserve Elena's body. This process turned into one of the most nauseating restoration operations in history, demonstrating that he was both a scientist and a madman. When Tanzler brought the body home, despite 2 years of chemical treatments, the corpse continued to decompose naturally. The skin had rotted, the hair had fallen out, and the eyes had dried up. For Tanzler, this was a disaster. He had to restore Elena's perfect form. Tanzler embarked on a horrifying restoration operation with the limited knowledge and materials available to an X-ray technician. This process became one of the most nauseating restoration operations in history, demonstrating that he was both a scientist and a madman. Tanzler's methods seemed straight out of a horror movie. He used piano wires and coat hangers to hold the body's bones together, preventing the skeleton from collapsing. He covered the decaying skin and tissue with wax and plaster soaked in silk fabrics, giving it the appearance of a mannequin. He placed glass eyes in the empty eye sockets. He made a wig using hair he had obtained from Elena's mother. To mask the odor of the corpse, he used copious amounts of perfume, disinfectant, and preservative chemicals. Tanzler viewed this process as creating a work of art. He did not bring Elena back to life. He transformed her into a statue of his own obsession. Every day, he worked for hours to maintain this illusion. Tanzler lived with this mummified body for 7 years. He talked to her, danced with her, and shared his bed with her. These 7 years were a dream for him, but a nightmare for the outside world. During this time, Tanzler dressed Elena's body, adorned her with jewelry, and treated her as his wife. He even went further, with notes detailing his plan to take the body into the stratosphere and revive her with cosmic radiation. This was not a love story, but a horrifying combination of necrophilia and mental illness. Neighbors had begun to suspect something due to the strange odors emanating from Tanzler's house and the constantly closed windows. But no one could imagine the horror that lay behind those walls. 7 years later, in 1940, this terrible secret was finally revealed. Elena's sister, Florinda, had grown suspicious of Tanzler's strange behavior and rumors that he was keeping Elena's body in a box instead of a coffin. Tanzler constantly gave Florinda expensive gifts, trying to silence her. However, Florinda's suspicions grew stronger with rumors that Tanzler had replaced Elena's body with a mannequin. Florinda went to Tanzler's house, determined to see for herself. When Florinda entered Tanzler's house, she was met with the greatest shock of her life. A female figure was lying in the bed, but this was not a living woman. Florinda thought what she saw was a mannequin until she examined it closely. The Elena's body, horrifically restored, held together with piano wires and fitted with glass eyes. Florinda immediately notified the authorities. When the police arrived, they were horrified by the scene. Tanzler was immediately arrested. The police investigation revealed the horror in Tanzler's house. The condition of the body, the materials used, and Tanzler's notes exposed the full extent of the incident. This event caused a major sensation in Key West and across America. But the truly shocking part of the story was just beginning. This event caused a major sensation in Key West and across America. Tanzler was charged with grave robbery and desecration of a corpse. However, the legal process concluded unexpectedly. Tanzler's act was technically protected by the statute of limitations. Grave robbery was a crime that had to be prosecuted within 2 years, and Tanzler had stolen the body after 2 years. The result? Tanzler was released. This legal loophole would make the public's reaction even more complicated. Here is the darkest, and Elena's body, as evidence, was publicly displayed in a funeral home. More than 6,000 people lined up to view this mummified body. It had become not a piece of criminal evidence, but a spectacle. This event opened a chilling window into the moral and psychological state of the era. People waited for hours to see this horrifying sight. But even more shocking was the public's reaction to Tanzler. The public saw Tanzler not as a monster, but as a romantic lover. Newspapers referred to him as the Count, presenting his story as a tragic love epic. Society showed a surprising amount of sympathy for this case of necrophilia. This opened a chilling window into the moral and psychological state of the era. People were questioning their own concepts of love and death through Tanzler's obsessive story. Elena's body was finally reburied in an unmarked, secret grave. This meant she had finally found peace. Tonsler, meanwhile, left Key West, but his obsession was far from over. For the rest of his life, he created a full-sized replica of Elena's body and continued to live with it. In 1952, he was found dead in his home. Next to him was the horrifying mannequin he had crafted with his own hands. The story of Carl Tonsler and Elena Hoyos has continued to live on in popular culture ever since. It has been the subject of songs, books, and films. For many, this is a clear case of necrophilia and a terrifying example of mental illness. So, what do you think? Was Carl Tonsler a tragic lover or simply a criminal? Does this story push the boundaries of love, or does it reveal the darkest corners of the human psyche? Write your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video for more stories like this. See you in the next dark tale. Goodbye.